evening. This is Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kanyuk. How was your week this week?
Well, it wasn't too bad, except for a disappointing milkshake. I think we
Yeah,
talked about
I
that
heard
briefly
that-
on Wednesday.
Heard that
Bebop's
story.
usually quality, but just did not have the chocolatey punch that I needed that night. Obviously, they're part of the Luciferians, Bebops. No, just kidding. But no, it was a little disappointing.
Yeah. Well, occasionally that will happen.
But if that's the biggest thing that I can complain about this week, I'm doing pretty darn good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, not bad. I feel a little less frayed than last week.
Yeah, I think I got a little of that frayed.
Yeah.
Just a little tired, yeah.
I gave you some of that.
Yeah.
Again, Carolyn Pettit is joining us in the studio this week, and she's going to chime in occasionally with some wisdom.
Yeah, we'll see.
Of course, if you would like to join the show with your questions or comments, be sure and call toll-free 855-244-0077. And if you're calling locally in the Des Moines area, that's 244-0077. I thought I would start off this week, and you guys may have a different opinion on this. But this account comes from Acts 9. It starts in Acts 9:35, and it goes through to Acts 11:18. And I wrote this week. It's funny how many people can get it wrong. Peter was in Joppa. He had just raised the woman Dorcas, or Tabitha, from the dead, Dorcas being an important servant in the Lord's work. But while praying on the rooftop, Peter fell into a trance and was given a vision. In this vision, he saw a sheet being lowered by four corners, full of four-legged beasts of all types. When the Lord told him to eat, Peter responded by saying he would never eat anything common or unclean. Now, please put this into context here. While this is happening, a Roman centurion from Caesarea is sending for Peter to come to his home and preach the saving word of the gospel to him and his household. The centurion Cornelius was to be the first important fruits of the converts from the Gentiles. Peter had much venom and bigotry and hatred of the unclean, so in this vision the Lord was telling Peter that he must surrender his prejudices to the Lord's will. Then as he spoke in Cornelius' home, the Holy Spirit fell upon Peter and all those listening in the spirit of tongues. So each heard and understood the words spoke that day. Where in the world, knowing the context of this vision, would anyone get the notion that God had set aside dietary law? Diet had nothing to do with this story. The story was a teaching moment for Peter to realize God's love for all mankind, not just the Jews. So the long and short of this is swine is no better to eat now as then, and it magically did not become edible flesh. Same with shellfish or birds of prey. Animal flesh was never intended for nourishment to start with, but after the flood, God allowed its use, but restrictions were placed on it. Now, you can eat what you want, but you will pay the price in your health for it. Ryan, pop up the verse. So in the moral of this story, a lot of people jump on the common unclean as something that God eliminated certain things or allowed the use of certain things in our diet that he had formerly said was wrong for us. But I think this verse should clear it up because this is Peter talking, because he was relaying the story, I believe, to his brethren after God had shown him this. And Peter was saying, and said unto them, ye know that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto the house of another nation. But God hath shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So a lot of people seem to base their desire to eat what they want. And of course, eating what you want is not necessarily sin, but you will pay a price for it in your health. So I just think it's kind of interesting. When we read things in the Bible, we have to try to put them in context of the story in which they were written.
Well, I guess that's it for ham sandwiches then. Is that why I look frazzled? Oh, I had turkey today. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, what's interesting about that, I don't remember what book I just read it in, that Christ was talking about food a while back. About it doesn't, whatever goes into a man isn't what makes him unclean, but what comes out of a man's heart. Even at that point, Christ was even saying, it doesn't matter what you eat, it doesn't matter what you do, it comes out of man's heart. So I think even, like, Christ even spoke about that even before Paul did.
Well, I don't think the battle today is as much with, should you be eating shrimp or should you be eating pork? If you really want to take a look at healthy eating, you need to be cutting out this genetically modified organism stuff out of your out of existence, because that stuff is specifically designed to basically take all the good stuff that was in food.
Yep.
I mean, you hear the old saying where your grandpa says, "Well, a tomato that I used to eat when I was a kid, that ain't the same. What I eat now ain't the same tomato that I had as a kid." That's literally true because of what they have done with genetic modification. And I'm not talking about just different type of breeding and everything, but they're actually
pumping stuff into them.
Right, they're able to actually put
protein,
different types of cells in there. Like they're talking about growing corn with polio vaccines or something like that in there. Now, what kind of effect is this going to actually have on the human body?
It has it, especially being a female. It does. It can change things.
Absolutely.
When they pump in all the extra stuff into chickens, I know like that. I've heard a lot of that, and actually in California, that it forces things and whatnot. So yeah, it's not good.
And that's all part of an agenda to cut the nourishment out of food. So you have a dependent population that is able to get sick easier. They're not able to raise any form of resistance against.
No, yeah, we weren't created for that stuff. That processed extra stuff. We were made for fruits and vegetables and good stuff.
And we're going to have a healthcare system that's just waiting for everybody.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, well, let's we'll talk about our Pope Francis today. And these words that I'm about to read to you, I borrowed from something called Concerning Jesuits, printed in London in 1902 by the Catholic Truth Society, edited by Reverend John Gerard. And I modified it down to a paragraph, and it says, "The Order of Jesuits was created by the papacy to destroy the Protestant Church, the most cruel champions of the popery. Dead to all earthly ties, natural affections, reason, and conscience, they knew no rule but duty to Rome. They were taught to suffer hunger, cold, toil, poverty, to impersonate the traits of real Christians. No crime or deception was too great for them to employ. Disguising in sanctity, they visited prisons and hospitals, ministering to the sick and poor. Any means was used to their end. Lying, theft, perjury, and assassination but were minor technicalities, being not only pardonable but commendable. They worked their way into state offices, councils to kings, shaping nations' policies, using service as an ability to spy on the masters. Colleges were established for sons and princes of nobles, all to confuse the mind, destroying and taking liberty captive." And just for the record, our Pope Francis is a Jesuit.
It's interesting that the Jesuits were founded as an order to serve the Pope. They were never intended to actually be the Pope, so that's kind of an interesting thing. That's kind of an interesting thing there. What do you guys? What do you think about the Pope? What do you think about old Francis?
Well, I will be mentioning him later in my Hypocrite of the Week.
Have you guys heard of the prophecy of the popes by a 12th century bishop named Malachi? He's a saint now, Saint Malachi. he had a vision on his way to Rome back in the 1100s, and this vision was a vision of every succeeding pope that would come from that point on to the end of time. And he had a little description of each pope. And this pope is the last one of the line. This one is supposed to be Petrus Romanus is the final pope, which is interesting considering this guy is his name is Peter Borgigliano, and he comes from Argentina. However, his parents were immigrants to Argentina from Italian, so he is actual Roman heritage. This is the pope that is supposed to, let me read the prophecy. Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills, which is Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. So that was the 112th pope from that point. So we're at that point now.
Yeah, I've heard that Petro is supposed to be the last pope. But here in Wikipedia, I looked up the pope, and it says under the Jesuit part that Bergoglio, how's it pronounced? Bergoglio. Studied at the Archdiocese Seminary of Immaculata Concepcion Seminary in Villa Devoto, Buenos Aires. After 3 years, entered the Society of Jesus as a novice. Bergoglio said as a young seminarian that he had a crush on a girl he met at an uncle's wedding, so much so that he doubted about continuing his religious career. As a Jesuit novice, he studied humanities at Santiago, Chile. At the conclusion of his novelty in Society of Jesus, Bergoglio officially became a Jesuit when he made his religious profession of initial perpetual vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience to the member of the order. So I guess they had it right in 1902.
So he also chose the name Francis, I believe, off of Saint Francis, who had his own prophecy. Correct me if I'm wrong, about concerning the final pope line. And Petrus Romanus is supposed to be the pope that leads the faithful astray. Now, here's why we get into interesting things with this pope. I believe that this pope definitely plays a huge role in end times prophecy. I believe this pope is the one that's going to kind of facilitate the thinking of setting up a one world religious system. Pope Francis is actually heading over to Israel and the Middle East this week. I think today actually he'll be there. He's being flanked right now with a rabbi and a Muslim sheikh as his travel companions, and he's pushing this idea of interfaith dialogue and normality of having friends of other religions, according to the Vatican. So to me, I'm interpreting that as setting the groundwork for this notion that, well, we all worship the same God, and really it's just different paths to the same goal, which is total Bravo Sierra, especially if you actually study the origins of the Muslim faith, which is, Allah is not God. Allah is an actual moon deity that was worshipped back in the day.
Well, we're coming up on our break. This has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and co-host David Canuck and Carolyn Pettit in the studio with us, and Ryan, of course, producing. When we come back, I've got so many hypocrites of the week, I guess I will offer one up.
A sacrifice
when we return from our break.
Wasn't there a song, It's Raining Hypocrites?
I'm not sure. Google that one.
Yeah.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Shalom! Every week on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman, we'll talk about issues in the Middle East, issues related to the Jewish tradition and religious traditions in general, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on around the world. You may know some of the story, but you haven't heard all of the story until you've heard it on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman and our special guests we have on every week.
Hey, this is Doc with Doc and Lefty. I want to tell you about our brand new time slot. It's from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's on the same night, Tuesdays. We now follow Ed Fallon and the Fallon Forum on webcast1live.com. I want to tell you a little bit about our show. Our show is focused on local, state, and national, and sometimes international politics. We like to keep people updated and informed. We also have very interesting guests. So please join us every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on webcast1live.com.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, co-host David Kanyuk, and in studio, Carolyn Pettit. This was going to be one of my hypocrites of the week, but since we didn't have any time for our hypocrites last week, I was going to give one to Mr. Pope Pontiff, hypocrite, who wants to eliminate poverty. And I mentioned that I've got a big idea, man. Give back all the wealth that you extorted off the backs of poor peasants with your false doctrine of purgatory that was dictated to you straight from Satan himself, that you built and lavished your cathedrals with, sculpture, paintings, tapestry. You live in the lap of luxury. Your Bank of Rome filled its coffers on the backs of the very poor that you pretend to help. Christ did not entertain any such adoration, wealth, or luxury. So this is my number one hypocrite of the week, and for every week going back to the 4th century, and the world wonders after the beast.
So do you think Pope Francis is the Antichrist, or will become him?
Well, we'd all like to think that the most current Pope is the last one. Whether he will be or not, I'm not sure.
Just taking a look back at the archives from my site, seeing a story posted on that was posted on RaidersNewsUpdate.com. That's Tom Horn's website, who is an amazing researcher, has been researching the prophecy of the popes and so many different things concerning the Catholic Church for years and years. There are a couple of great books out there you can pick up. Petrus Romanus, in which he accurately predicted the date that Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, would actually resign.
Yeah.
And uncannily picked that date. And also Exo Vaticana, which is pretty interesting. It's covering the Vatican's search for extraterrestrial life. A lot of people don't realize that the Vatican actually is one of the foremost space researchers out there. They have a huge telescope out on Mount Graham, I believe, in Arizona. Do you know what the name of that telescope is?
Does it have something to do with Peter?
No. Lucifer.
Oh.
It's named Lucifer, and it's searching for signs of life in the heavens, and crazy rumblings that come out of the Catholic Church in recent years. There's just a story that I posted yesterday. Vatican astronomer willing to baptize aliens speaks at Georgetown commencement. So the Vatican has actually spoken out saying that, well, yeah, if we find aliens, they could be baptized.
Wait, you're talking about like real aliens
Yeah.
in space?
Yeah. This
I was
is
just checking.
this is this is Guy Coslomagno, who's an astronomer and planetary scientist at the Vatican Observatory, and he spoke to graduates at Georgetown University's commencement ceremony. He began his speech by acknowledging that many are surprised to hear that the Vatican operates its own observatory, which is called Lucifer. You can look that up. He explains that by supporting an observatory, the Vatican is reminding the world, including Catholics, that the church supports and embraces science. He made headlines in 2010 when he told The Guardian that any entity, no matter how many tentacles it has a soul. He also told The Guardian that he would gladly baptize an extraterrestrial if one requested it.
You really can't make this stuff up, can you?
No, and then Pope Francis had also made similar comments about baptizing aliens, stating that Christians cannot close the door to all those who seek baptism, even if they are, quote, green men with long noses
What's interesting,
and big ears like children draw.
What's interesting that you just said that they said you couldn't close the door to what? What was that last part that you said? It was like just right at the end.
You cannot, Christians cannot close the door to all those who seek baptism.
Right, but if you're not Catholic, you cannot be baptized in the Catholic Church. So does
That's
that
right.
not
So
contradict exactly what they do?
The aliens would have to accept
They'd have to-
Catholicism. Right.
Okay. Oh, so they have to still go through the process. They're just not going to baptize them.
This
I'm sorry.
This is going to be part
I'm
of the.
trying.
This is going to be part of the delusion. I think the discovery of extraterrestrial life.
Yes, part of the great delusion will be the dead, and that there's no difference between the wicked or the righteous, that the most wicked person, such as Thomas Paine, whose writings were probably more responsible for more people going to damnation than any other writer in the history of the world, will be in heaven. And along with Peter, along with whoever, and it's going to be a grand delusion, and I think the extraterrestrial will be part of that grand delusion.
Well, the
delusion.
The extraterrestrial thing, they're going to come down as saviors of mankind, and basically they're going to promote the theory that we're kind of the children. We were seeded by extraterrestrials millions of years ago, and that all of our religious systems are incorrect. And in order to ascend, we have to realize that there is a different type of God out there, if you will. And they're going to appoint representatives on earth. This will be the Antichrist, and this will be the false prophet.
Well, I just find it interesting that the Bible is very clear on heaven and hell, and the Catholic Church come up with this idea of something in between called purgatory, so that if your loved one was burning in hell forever and ever and ever, which is a false doctrine in and of itself, but somehow with a certain amount of money, obviously they kept people in total ignorance and superstition because the Catholic Church kept Bibles from the vast majority of
That's
people.
where Martin Luther came in.
Well, the whole foundation of the Jesuits was actually to stop the spread of Protestantism.
But with a certain amount of money, it might be a year's wages for a peasant, they could pay their way to get their loved one out of hell and into purgatory. They weren't in heaven, but they weren't burning eternally in damnation. And this single-handedly is how the Catholic Church filled its coffers.
No, yeah, for a while it did, and that's where you have Martin Luther come in. That's why, I believe that God used Martin Luther. You needed someone to be able to.
Well, he used all those reformers and give them all a ray of light. Wycliffe, Huss, Jerome, Knox, Wesley, Calvin.
Yeah.
He used them all, and he gave them all individual rays of light. And it was the twin sisters, I call them, of the Renaissance and the Reformation, because they come about. They was a little bit apart, but they came about approximately about the same time. And just so happens that the Catholic Church was sitting on both truth. They were sitting on the Bible, and they were sitting on science.
Right.
In fact, they imprisoned Galileo, the astronomer, scientist, or whatever you want to call him. But I just find it interesting, the hypocrisy of the church when they're out to eliminate poverty and knowing their history.
I'm still trying to get over the alien thing. Sorry.
Well, I would do your research.
Yeah,
on,
no, most definitely.
I would pick up Exo
Send her the
Vaticana.
link.
Seriously, I would pick up Exo Vaticana, because this is something that they are promoting, and the idea is going to be that these alien saviors are going to say, well, your religions were on the right track, but it wasn't correct in some essence or whatever. They're going to say basically that all religions are worshiping the same God, and then set up that one world religion. And the whole idea is going to be, if you're not worshiping that one world, the God that they set up, then you're going to be persecuted and killed.
It sounds like if you would pull off and throw off everything else just from those few statements, to me it sounds like a cult. Like, it sounds like something like that's not even realistic, I guess, in my mind.
Isn't it kind of a cult, though? I mean, they worship the Pope as God's representative, which is in direct contradiction of what the Bible says.
Well, basically, it's Revelation. The book of Revelation basically talks about, come out of Babylon, do not drink the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And we know that Babylon is a false apostate church. We know that the Pope is the leader of that false apostate church. And a harlot is, Babylon is the mother of harlots. And the daughter of harlots is false churches that hold hands with the papacy, basically. So Christ is saying at the end of time, whether you be a Lutheran, a Methodist, whatever you are, at some point, God's going to draw his people into one group, one church, one body. And it's going to be those with the mark of the beast, those without the mark of the beast.
Right.
The righteous, the lost. And so when Christ says come out of Babylon, he's saying come out of false churches, join his one true church, which I believe is spiritual Israel, as we talked about on the prior show this afternoon. I believe that true church is spiritual Israel. And since Babylon no longer exists, you're either part of spiritual Israel or part of spiritual Babylon.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting with Martin Luther, though. When he pulled it away, I mean, there's a certain point, he didn't want to destroy the Catholic Church. He wanted to reform it. He wanted to stop things that need to be stopped, like we were talking about with buying for purgatory. I mean, that's not even biblical. Christ doesn't speak that at all.
Well, in fact, Luther taught expressly against immortality of the soul, that somehow the soul lives on once it leaves the body. Luther taught against that. Solomon taught against that. So if you're burning in hell forever and ever and ever, apparently you're alive. So when Luther is teaching that there's no immortality of the soul, you cannot possibly be in hell burning forever and ever and ever. And I would simply say, well, where's the tree of life in hell? Where's the tree of life that we have to partake of to maintain our eternal life? If the tree of life was in hell, couldn't keep the leaves on it, it'd be burning and then burn the leaves off. So Without going off on a tirade about all the Catholics' false prophecies.
I'm not going that far with it. I know some extremely good Catholics that are God-fearing people. So,
well, see, when I speak of this, I don't speak of Catholic individuals.
Right.
I speak of the government.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there will be good Catholics in heaven, along with good Jews that kept the truth as they knew it at the time. But I believe before the end of time comes, the world will have to be, the world will receive a mark of the beast, and the only ones who won't receive the mark of the beast is those who are sealed by God.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So did you have some other things you wanted to mention about the Pope? You said you had a couple articles.
No, I just got to those articles during our conversation there. He's in Israel. The other big points would be that the Vatican said that the Pope would be visiting, quote, the state of Palestine, unquote, which has prompted rumors that the Vatican may announce recognition of an independent Palestinian state. That would be pretty huge. And then also there's the handing over of King David's tomb, which is supposed to have the site of the Last Supper, and that's being handed over to Vatican control. And he's also visiting the Temple Mount as well, which is the site of the soon-to-be rebuilt.
Well, one thing I want to mention, since we're talking about the end of time, Ted Turner launched CNN in 1980 by saying that CNN would be on the air until the end of the world. Then they would cover that story and sign off by playing Nearer, My God, to Thee. Well, Ted, oh boy, you're rapidly getting close to having that chance. We're at the top of the hour, and this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, my co-host, David Canuck, and Carolyn Pettit in the studio with us this week again, and, of course, Ryan in the studio producing. We will return shortly.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm Frank Holzhauser, your host, and my co-host David Kanyuk, and Carolyn Pettit is in the studio with us today, and Ryan producing. I will get the second part of our show started off. I'm pretty sure David is loaded for bear on this topic, so I will get him started.
Is it back on that milkshake? I'm loaded for bear on that milkshake.
He may believe there's some more nefarious parts of this story.
I'll get you, Bebops! Sorry.
But it goes, ever heard the saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too? Well, that applies for all but Barack Obama. He has said both that he has been on the issues at the Veterans Administration for 6 years, and that he just found out about the issues in the news media. Wow. But he can't comment due to an investigation. Well, that is short for Stonewall, to buy time for documents to be destroyed implicating him. Just like every other scandal on his watch, one problem, though, Democrats have to give lip service to veterans, so this scandal may have some legs. Boy, how Sarah Palin got ridiculed for talking about death panels. Well, this scandal is a prelude to ration care that Obama has in store for Americans. And you feel that there's even some more nefarious reasons that the Christians may need to watch out for.
Well, sure. Let's run down what's happened this week. So yeah, he says that, I didn't know about it. WorldNet Daily had a story about how, let's see, the title of this, Obama 2008, VA will be leader of healthcare reform. It goes on that WorldNet Daily discovered that Obama was briefed on problems at the Veterans Administration as far back as 2005, when he was a senator of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Washington Times reported Monday that the Obama administration received notice more than 5 years ago that VA medical facilities were reporting inaccurate waiting times and experiencing scheduling failures that threatened to deny veterans timely health care. So he was somewhat aware of some of the things that were going on. So that part, everything this guy says is a complete lie.
Well, Rush Limbaugh says, listen to what he says he's going to do, and then he'll go do exactly what he said he's not going to do.
Right. Everything that he says is a lie. He's almost like the father of lies, huh? But yeah, so the left had touted the Veterans Administration as a model of socialized medicine back when they were trying to get the so-called Affordable Care Act passed. Here's a good article. The left touted VA is a good example for Obamacare. So you have a number of different liberal commentators that were going down their White House-approved talking points. Let's see here. I'm going to pick up in the middle of the article. And herein lies the problem for the left. The failures at the VA, including its bureaucratic incompetence, its waiting lists, and its deaths all debunk the notion that a government-run healthcare system will work. It's a fresh slap in the face to all of those commentators who, in pushing Obamacare, endorsed the VA as a model. Paul Krugman in 2011 wrote of the VA's, quote, huge success story. He said multiple surveys have found that the VHA is providing better care than most Americans receive, even as the agency has held cost increases well below those facing Medicare and private insurers. The VHA is an integrated system which provides health care as well as paying for it. So it's free form that preserves incentives created when doctors and hospitals profit from expensive tests and procedures, whether or not those procedures actually make medical sense. Krugman added, yes, this is socialized medicine, but it works and suggests what it will take to solve the troubles of U.S. healthcare more broadly. Nicholas Kristof of The Times wrote in 2009, take the hospital system run by the Department of Veterans Affairs, the largest integrated health system in the United States. It's fully government-run, much more socialized medicine than is Canadian healthcare with its private doctors and hospitals. And the system for veterans, by all accounts, one of the best performing and most cost-effective elements in the American medical establishment. So it goes on and on. A number of different commentators writing about how great it is, and this is a model of socialized medicine. And they're right. This is a model of socialized medicine. The Veterans Administration is a microcosm of what the Obama administration wants to do with healthcare in this country, with waiting lists.
Well,
with denial of healthcare for people who they would consider undesirable, like political opponents, etc.
Well, first off, Obama addresses each one of his scandals, of course. His response will be in this order. One, he just got here and he's catching up. Then he will be outraged at the injustice, and he will promise to get to the bottom of it. Then it will be placed on the witch hunt list, and not a smidgen of evidence is a scandal. One problem, though, this scandal may have some legs because the Democrats have to give some support because of the past things they've said about the VA and because they give lip service to the troops. And the one thing we ought to be able to do in this country is keep our promises to our troops. And I'll sleep much better tonight knowing that our fearless commander-in-chief is on the case. Yeah, right.
Well, here's what I wrote last night when I was a little less frazzled today. It said, the left is correct in the sense that what has happened in the VA is a microcosm of what to expect when Obamacare is fully implemented. Healthcare rationing, secret waiting lists, and the denial of care to anyone that the political machine views as undesirable. This is why doctors have to get approval from a database in Washington as to what kind of treatments they can prescribe. This is literally the framework for the beast system being put into place. Remember when Hillary said that you shouldn't be able to get a job if you didn't have health care? Which she did say back during the debate process of the Affordable Care Act back in 2008, 2009, said that you shouldn't be able to get a job if you don't have health care. Or if you don't have health insurance, I should say.
And the question is, how do you pay for the health care without a job? The government pays for it, right?
Right. But this is part of also a more nefarious, even more nefarious agenda of taking out those veterans. The Obama administration is at absolute war with veterans. That's what Department of Homeland Security has been gearing up for since 2009 is conflict with the veterans. Let's see here. We have a whistleblower saying that a VA supervisor, I believe in North Carolina, said that older veterans should be shot in the head, quote unquote, to save money. Let's see here. The employer also revealed the shocking attitude of one supervisor at the hospital towards older veterans who asserted that older vets should be taken outside and shot in the head because they're worthless. The individual still works at the hospital and was not disciplined for his comments. So this is all being set up to go after anybody who opposes Obama. Anybody who opposes this dictatorship that has been set up. And let's not make any bones about it. Obama did declare himself the dictator back in January when he made his comment that he has a phone and he has a pen. He declared himself.
Well, Charles Krauthammer wonders why he even bothers with the pen and the phone. Why don't he just take his bullhorn and go to the balcony or the roof of the White House and start bellowing out dictates?
Well, that might actually be the next step. And so they've created this mechanism, and this was the beginnings of this creation of this mechanism went back to George W. Bush with the Patriot Act and everything like that. And it's just been further accelerated with things like the National Defense Authorization Act, which says that they can detain anybody at any time for anything without giving trial or anything like that. They even declare the right to kill whoever they want. A reporter who reports on the story of somebody who is detained can be detained themselves just for reporting on that story.
Well, didn't we have another story in the news yesterday about some decision a judge had made on drone strikes?
There was a...
I think a judge made a decision or made a ruling on something just yesterday.
Right. It was the judge who had written their the legal case for being able to use drone strikes on American citizens without any type of warrant or due process. He was appointed, he was a nominee for I believe the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court. That'd be the appeals court in New
DC.
England.
It's DC court.
It was in New England. It would oversee like Massachusetts, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
The guy's wife is the governor of Massachusetts, so I'm not sure how that's not a conflict of interest. Maybe cases involving the state of Massachusetts just would not come into that circuit, but you would think that.
So, do you have any thoughts about our president, Carolyn?
No. You don't have anything to say, you shouldn't say it.
Well, let's link this into some of the other things about how they're preparing against you. U.S. Special Forces and foreign troops were practicing invading Tampa this week. Forces from Belgium, Canada, Colombia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Jordan, the Netherlands, Norway, Peru, Poland, and Thailand, along with the United States, were practicing taking over an urban area. They were using Tampa. They even staged a mock kidnapping with the consent of Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn from, quote, an insurgent village held by violent extremists. Helicopters, boats, ground mobility vehicles, and commandos unloaded blank rounds as a 14-man team worked to locate the mayor. High-ranking members of the Army, Lieutenant Joe Votel, discussed several topics, including the nightmare scenario of Sunni extremists or extremist organizations obtaining biological, chemical, or radiological nuclear weapons. He said that, I think we have to be concerned about them falling into the hands of people who would have less difficulty employing those. And for me, that's why I think this is hugely important, Votel said, while also mentioning the situation in Syria. He said that I do think we have to be very, very concerned. Yeah, the Syrian rebels are who we have to be concerned about. They're the ones that we are supplying to topple the Assad regime, who has never, ever threatened us for anything. TSA is purchasing 24 million rounds of, quote, duty ammunition. That's hollow point ammo. Indiana police chief says that police are now armed for war against returning veterans. And so on and so forth. So they've got the mechanism set up in place to go after anybody who would oppose this regime, because this regime ain't leaving.
So the long and short of it is as a Christian, do you think we're going to be put on the do not see list?
Absolutely. Think about it. They're tracking every cell phone conversation. If you've ever said anything against this guy,
well, quickly,
you better not get sick.
We got to coming on our commercial break. This has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host Frank Holzhauser and co-host David Kaniuk. We will return shortly.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, my co-host, David Kaniuk, and Carolyn Pettit in the studio with us. My hypocrite of the week, basically, since I offered you the Poponif on the hypocrite altar, I'm going to name Chris Hayes of PMSNBC. He has opined that Karl Rove needs to back up his allegations about Hillary Clinton's health. Now, first of all, it was either a bogus delay to avoid the Benghazi hearings or it was a legitimate medical issue. Not many folk are laid up 30 days for an irrelevant health issue. If she wasn't avoiding the hearing, it was a major issue. But it's the double standard. Harry Reid routinely makes all sorts of bizarre allegations. Last election cycle, he accused Mitt Romney of not paying his taxes based on something he was told. When the hell did Chris Hayes demand proof of that accusation? Or for that matter, any liberal media types? Nancy Pelosi alleged not long ago that a Republican insider told her that his party doesn't care about the poor because they don't exist. Again, Chris Hayes was on top of that story demanding proof. Not. It's beyond comical. It's just sad. We can't have a real press that scrutinizes both sides equal. Well, dream on.
Yeah, I think he does have a point in some respects that he should kind of back up why he is speculating about her health. I mean, is it just on the on her being laid up for 30 days to delay her Benghazi hearing, which totally was a work. I mean,
well, he was saying something about somebody had stated the type of glasses that she was walking out, the type of sunglasses that she was walking with she had on, walking out of the hospital, was glasses that people with severe brain injuries potentially wear.
So he scrutinized these glasses and said those are brain injury glasses.
Well, supposedly she fell and suffered a concussion. And you know, was there any brain injury as a result of this concussion? Because I guess, a brain injury is a concussion, or concussion is brain injury.
Right.
But what they were wanting to know was because she was wearing these particular type of glasses that patients who have severe head trauma wear, there was speculation. And of course, the media jumped on it and said, Karl Rove says Hillary has brain damage, which Karl Rove didn't say that. But
right. Well, I mean, he should come out and state. I think he should personally come out and state what his reasonings are for floating that story out. I think it's part of a tactic to float a story out and get the idea out there that, oh, well, maybe she's not competent to run. And I'm not trying to defend her or anything because I don't think she's competent to run. But I think it's just kind of a diversionary tactic, so to speak.
Well, legitimately, all candidates are eventually asked about their health records.
Right.
And I'm not sure if Barack Obama released his. I think he may have released a partial list of his health records. But apparently Rove wants to get the story in the media for the media to cover it, and he got his job done because the media is covering it.
There you go.
So you have a choice for this week, and
I got a couple that I didn't get to last week. I'll be quick with them. First off, Ed Schultz from PMSNBC.
Good old Ed.
He said, get this. He tweeted out, and I quote, this is gonna blow your mind more than the aliens. Gay people were really the ones being persecuted in Hitler's Germany. Let me repeat that. Gay people were really the ones being persecuted in Hitler's Germany.
So is he saying all Jews were gay?
I don't know. I guess between the 5,000 and 15,000 gay men who were interned in concentration camps trump the 6 million Jews who died.
Well,
what was the point? I'm sorry. What was the point of the statement?
He's an idiot.
I'm not saying that by any means. We're supposed to live in harmony with everyone. But what is the point of that statement?
Because he's jumping on the pro homosexual agenda bandwagon to such a degree that he's going out and saying this thing, which is completely ridiculous. And of course, you don't hear anything about it in the mainstream press. Nobody jumps on them. Where's the ADL on this?
Well, I'm putting myself in Chris Hayes' shoes. I'm going to say, hey, Ed, back up your allegation.
Exactly. No one's saying anything. Like I said, where's the ADL on this? You know,
that logically doesn't even make
Ahmadinejad, the
sense.
former president of Iran, he just, says, oh, maybe we should have a forum and talk about the Holocaust and see what really happened there. We want to bomb him for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even any. That's just asking questions. This guy says.
So, did you come across anybody who was sane this week?
Well, I got one more hypocrite.
Oh, okay.
Eleanor Clift last week also said that Ambassador Stevens wasn't murdered. He died of smoke inhalation. I guess the people that were attacking the embassy for 8 hours had nothing to do with it. And Prince Charles also said this week that Vladimir Putin he compared him to Hitler, which is pretty odd coming from somebody who was linked to a pedophile. That's Jimmy Savile.
Well, here's one I'd like to mention. Talk about a witch hunt. Did you catch what Michael Druniak, ex-spokesman of Governor Christie, said? He opined last week that when he heard about the bridge lane closures, it was analogous to where he was when the Space Challenger was destroyed. Wow and wow. Besides the fact that the bridge closure was a regional event and the Challenger explosion was viewed nation and worldwide and by millions of school kids, including mine, scarring many, I just was shocked he didn't invoke the Kennedy assassination. Where were you? Man, this is a circus complete with clown cars, and no one at PMSNBC gives a crap about 4 dead in Benghazi, but they're all over a traffic jam.
Well, he died of smoke inhalation. Eleanor Clift said so. I did find somebody sane just today. A Democratic congressman or Democratic senator, Ron Wyden, actually had the chutzpah to get up on the floor and challenge Obama by saying, quote, every American has the right to know when their government believes it is allowed to kill them.
Well, I have heard so many conflicting stories on his death that I have heard stories that he was sexually assaulted and he wasn't sexually assaulted.
Wyden?
No.
Oh, you're going back to Chris Stevens.
Chris Stevens.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that he was found alive, and some of the Libyans helped him. I mean, there's no consistency to this story, and then Eleanor Clift is just completely off the charts.
Well, she's trying to downplay the severity of what happened by saying, oh, well, he died of smoke inhalation.
Well, most people who die in a fire generally succumb to smoke inhalation before the fire.
We don't know if it... Right. Okay, so she's right in the sense we don't know if it was a bullet that ripped through him or if it was the sodomizing that did him in or if it was smoke inhalation. That doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is this guy died. There was a stand-down order, so we were not allowed to help him while the battle raged on for 8 hours. Generals were relieved of command when they did try to go help him. Their XOs relieved them of command. And this whole thing, again, as I've harped on for the past few weeks, this whole situation was a cover-up for weapons smuggling to Al-Qaeda in Syria, who we are funding.
Well, do you think the committee on Benghazi will even attempt to get to the bottom of this?
No. The truth will not come out.
And you think?
I got nothing.
Okay.
I'm listening. I'm learning.
All right. Well, this has been Frankly Speaking Live, and I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and Carolyn Pettit joined us this week. We're going to possibly bring Carolyn in sometime soon, and we're going to have her tell our audience.
You just won't let it go.
We're going to have her tell our audience her life story and her bout with demonic possession. And I think this is an important story that a lot of people need to hear. Are you game?
Definitely.
All
It's
right.
not my story, so he'll do what he wants.
It's God's story,
That's
right?
right, absolutely.
All right. Well, as I said, this has been Frankly Speaking Live, and we will join you next week at this same time.